guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we're going to be having a play with the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde palette. I recently had a comment on a video from a subscriber asking me to do another video with it, and I figured it would be a good occasion to play with some shades that I haven't really touched in here. I feel like I always kind of gravitate towards the same shades in here, mainly these kind of shimmers here, and there's a corner of the palette that's kind of been untouched, so that's what I'm going to be playing with today. I also put up a poll on Instagram the other day to help me decide what to film next, and I gave the option of a blue look, a purple look, or a green look, and every time I checked it, two of the colours were actually tied. But the last time I checked yesterday, blue was coming out on top, so I figured I would be able to do a look with this that kind of was in the middle of all three, I guess, somehow, if that makes sense. So I'm just gonna go and quickly prime my eyes with my P. Louise base so that we can jump into this palette. Alright guys, so let's start off with our first shade, which is going to be the shade Vortex down here. I'm taking that on a Zoeva 231, and I'm gonna start packing that on into my crease. I feel like this is always the shade I start with when I use this palette for a whole eye look, but it is literally the darkest shade in this entire palette. It's not packing on well today. I'm going to be going for a more rounded shape today, so I'm, as always, going to bring it underneath, and I'm going to pop it in the outer corner as well. I do feel like it takes a while to pack on, even though it is such a dark colour, but then I think it might be because of the fact that it is a more pastel palette, so it is a dark shade that is a bit more muted, so it does take a little bit of work. I'm actually refilming this look because I filmed the video yesterday and I wasn't 100% happy with it. Basically, I picked a foundation that was just way too light and the photos and the footage was really horrible. But I had some issues yesterday with patchiness in the outer corner, so I'm going to be keeping an eye on that today, seeing if it happens again. Next up, I'm going to go into the shade Haze up here, and I'm taking it on my Morphe M433, and I'm going to use it to blend out Vortex. You guys will have heard me talk about this brush before. I have mentioned it a few times now because I think it's a really, really nice brush for your outer edge of your blend. It helps you get that really, really soft, buffed out look, but I do find you do have to dig a bit more in the shadows to pick them up because it is a fluffier brush. It kind of takes a little bit more work at the beginning. I do quite like how they blend in together. They wouldn't be my first choice if this was a different palette and there was a bit more variety in the mattes. I probably wouldn't blend these two in together, but I do think they work. And I'm just going to carry on making sure that I've got that nice rounded shape. Bring it underneath as well. I do find that with the shape of my eye, I do have like, oh my god, are those are definitely crow's feet that are starting to appear. That's a nice realization first thing on a Friday morning. But because of the shape of my eye, I do find that I end up getting eyeshadow really low down. You know me, this is why I do my foundation after doing my eyeshadow. It means that I can come and clean it up. I'm just going to jump back into a bit more of Vortex. Just because I only am using two colours, I want to make sure it's at the right height and that it's not going to get lost when I cut my crease. I feel like I used to get really lost with this palette. I'd get a bit stuck, especially when trying to use these shades that I'm going to be using today, because I would kind of almost get caught up by too many rules. I tend to use three colours in my crease, a dark, a medium and a lighter one, and what used to happen is I'd put these two on and go, okay, what next? You know, there's not really anything else that you can use in that colour scheme. I guess possibly you could kind of soften the edge out with this, but it is quite warm in comparison. But I feel like since I got the Morphe and James Charles brush set for my birthday, that isn't happening as much. And I feel like these brushes are really good if you don't have any like these, any of these bigger blending brushes. Just make things a little bit easier, really. Okay, so now that my blending is done, I'm going to move on to my cut crease, and I'm going to do it on camera today because I'm going to do a slightly different technique. This is one that I picked up from an Instagram page called Color This Face. She's really, really talented. She does the sharpest cut creases, so this technique must work, so I will link her down below. What I'm going to start off by doing is just take my Pro Arte Master Stroke Series 61. This is size 8, and I'm going to take some of my P. Louise base. You don't have to use P. Louise base, you can can use anything at this stage. You could use a really cheap concealer, and that's probably what I'd recommend doing, but I've just still got some P. Louise base out on my palette, so I'm just going to use up what I've got left. And I'm gonna start by creating the basic outline for my cut crease. Just knowing kind of roughly where I need to take it. What I'm going to do now is, I know that this is the area where I get overlap, and so I'm going to add some more product. I'm going to drop my eyebrow, I'm going to look up, and I'm going to look side to side, and you can see actually I completely missed the mark on that. Actually that goes up a lot higher than what I thought. So what I'm going to do now is kind of play connect the dots. So once I've got my outline on and I'm happy with it, I'm not actually going to fill it in. I am going to grab another brush. This is the same brush, but it's size 6. It's the one just below. And I'm going to take my Garnier Micellar Water, and what I'm going to do is pop some on the brush. I'm now going to use this to remove the excess product. Oh, that got right in my eye. I obviously had too much on my brush, so this is not off to a great start. Anyway, so what I'm now doing is removing all of that product. I do normally remove the excess eyeshadow that is going to be under the cut crease anyway, just because that's really nice for avoiding your colours bleeding. But with this palette, I do want to avoid having too many layers of product because I don't want to get any texture. And if you haven't tried using a brush to remove excess product from your eyelid, it is so much more precise than a cotton bud. So once I've got that all removed, I'm just going to quickly pat it dry with some tissue, and I definitely got some more in my eye. So now that I've patted that dry, what I'm going to take instead of my P. Louise base, it's going to be my NYX glitter glue. I'm actually really starting to run out of this one. That is definitely going to be something that I repurchase. I think I've been really happy with this, and it's lasted me for a good 2 years, I'd say. And the brush I'm going to take is going to be a Morphe M224. I'm just picking up some of the glue and I'm just going to lay it down, basically same as I would if I was doing a normal cut crease with my P. Louise base. I did test the shadows yesterday on the back of my hand before filming, and they do perform better over a glitter glue than they do just over the P. Louise base. Going as close as I can to that line, and then I'm going to take my Morphe M166, and the shade I'm going to go into is the shade Mercury, and I haven't actually used it in a look yet. But how pretty is that? The reason I found this shade quite hard to use is that it does have a black base. When you look at it in the pan, you can't see that black base. It just looks like it'll be like a really fine glitter. But you try and use it against some of those really light matte shades, and I don't know, I just couldn't get it to work. That is a big chunk of fallout I've got on my cheek. Actually having that black base means it works really well right now for the cut crease. And then I'm going to take my Zoeva brush again, go back into Vortex, and I'm going to add some more. It kind of does look patchy, and considering how expensive this palette is, you would kind of expect everything to perform really, really well. But I do like the way that these two shades blend in together. I'm just going to go and do the cut crease on the other eye and decide what I'm doing with everything else, and then I'll come back so that we can finish this eye together. Alright, so I've worked out what I want to do. I've gone into a slightly different direction to what I was originally thinking. The first thing I'm going to do is take my LA Girl Neon Shockwave eyeliner in Vivid. I have lightly primed my under eye with some P. Louise base. Now I'm going to run this under my lash line, and I'm going in fairly thick at this stage, but I'm not getting it on the waterline. Once I've got that, I'm going to take a small flat brush. It's not super firm, it's kind of in the middle. It's got a little bit of softness to it, so it will allow me to blend that out and just bring it down. And then if you need to, you can just add some more. And then I'm going to take the shade Ultraviolet over here, and I'm going to pack that on. I'm just now taking the Zoeva brush that I used with Vortex, and I'm just going to come and blend on the outer corner, just making sure that I'm taking it low down enough. And then I'm going to take the brush from Haze again. So now on the waterline, I'm going to take my MUA Intense Colour eyeliner. This is the shade Oceana from their summer collection, and it matches the shade on my eyelid really well. Then to redefine my cut crease, I'm going to go in with the shade Orchid from Sheen Cosmetics. You guys know I like these, like I don't need to bang on about them at this point. And I'm taking a Pro Arte Master Stroke brush. This is Series 60 and it's 000. These are linked down below, by the way, guys. I cannot recommend these enough. They are art brushes. They are really, really affordable and they're really, really good. So if you haven't checked them out already, they are linked down below. Okay, great, so I'm actually nearly done. I forgot to add something else, so I'm gonna do that now. I'm just trying to find a good brush, I don't know what to use. I'm just gonna use a flat brush. Again, I'm gonna take some more of the glitter glue and I'm gonna take it at the front of the lower lash line. And then just using the brush that I used for Ultraviolet, this time I'm gonna go into Nebula because this one is super pretty and super sparkly. And that is just gonna go at the front. And then the last thing that I'm going to do for now is jump into the shade Supermoon, which is a super pretty glitter. And just using a Cleans Over 231, I am popping that on my brow bone. It is quite a thick glittery shade, so it's not sticking super well right now, but you know what, that's all I want for my brow bone. Okay, so I'm gonna leave the eyes here for now. I do wanna add a little bit more, but I'll do it once I've kind of got everything else on. So I'm gonna go and do my foundation and my contouring off camera, and then I'll come back so that we can carry on together. All right, so my base is now on, and I feel a lot less ghostly than I did yesterday, so I already know that things are going much better. So the first thing I'm gonna do is highlight my inner corner, and I'm gonna start off with some more NYX glitter glue. I'm just taking the flat brush that I used earlier, and I'm just gonna pop that right in here. I'm gonna go back into the shade Supermoon. There we go. I mean, how beautiful is that? Next up, I'm gonna add some more liner, and this time I'm gonna use the shade High Peak, which is a metallic purple, and it is super, super pretty. I'm just taking another Pro Arte Master Stroke Series 60 in 000. And you know, I was really unsure about this metallic formula because I'm not a big fan of the Suva one. I just feel like it feels a bit thin, but this Sheen Cosmetics formula, it doesn't let me down. It does amaze me every time. So I am going to draw on some liner. And then I'm going to come in on the inner corner as well. Don't know what you actually call this, but I'm just doing a wing inside, I guess. You probably can't see what I'm doing. I think the pigmentation on this is lovely. I did kind of have to go over areas to get it really nice and pigmented, but I find you have to do it with them anyway. It is really, really popping against those shadows underneath, which I was just worried it wouldn't, but no, it's great. Next, I'm going to move on to blush, and I used this yesterday and it didn't work over the base that I had on, so I'm hoping it's going to work today. I'm going to use my Sailor Moon and Colourpop Cat's Eye. I'm going to try not to go too heavy with it. I don't want to jinx it, but it seems okay so far. I think yesterday my base was a bit too wet, so it kind of just got stuck into it, whereas today I've gone for a more matte foundation, and yeah, I mean, it's working. I'm gonna bring it up in my temple as well. I just find it gives a bit more colour to my face. I'm going to go in with my highlighter next, and before I do just want to mention that I did use a liquid highlighter today under my powder. Everything I've used will be listed down below anyway, but because I'm going for a more glittery powder highlighter today, I just wanted to have kind of a bit more glow from underneath, so I did want to mention that. And I'm going to take my Fenty Beauty Diamond Bomb in How Many Carats. I never use this because I really don't want to run out of it, because it's one of those expensive products and I want it to last, but I feel like it's going to work well today. And I'm going to use a different brush to the one I normally use. This is from a brand called The Felly. You can find it on Amazon. I will try and remember to link it down below. I used to use this as a highlight brush all the time, and I tried it again the other day, and it did give me a more concentrated finish, so I was thinking that maybe it would work a bit better with this one. Before I do my lips, I'm just gonna go and do my lashes and my brows off camera, and then I'll be right back. All right, my lashes and brows are now on. So for my lips, I think I'm actually gonna use one of my Pat McGrath mini lipsticks. This is the shade Omi. Let's see what that looks like. It's a bit warmer than I would want with this look, but I want to get more use out of these. You know what, I don't mind using a mini lipstick because that is actually a lot easier to apply than a normal one. So yeah, it's a bit warmer than I would have wanted to go for, but actually I kind of like it. And to set everything in place, I'm going to go in with my Revolution Glass Shimmer Fix Spray. Okay, let me just give you an update on how this is going because it is not looking very promising. For those of you that don't know, I have emptied the Revolution Glass Shimmer Fix into a bottle of L'Oreal Shake and Glow that was finished because I had really big issues with the mister. I think it got clogged up on the original bottle. It was basically kind of seeping out and I couldn't actually get it on my face. So I wanted to see if it was the mister or the product itself. I think the problem is the product here because there's not a lot coming out, but I can actually feel the droplets on my face, whereas when you have the L'Oreal Shake and Glow in here, it's a really, really fine mist. So it's looking like, I don't know why I'm showing you this bottle because that isn't the actual bottle, but I am starting to think that even though the Glass Shimmer Fix has a really pretty effect on the skin, I think the formula clogs up the mister, possibly, and you can't use it. If you want to watch the full review, it will be linked up here for you guys. Alright guys, here is the finished look. Let me know what you think of it. It's giving me accidental Ariel vibes, like a little bit darker, and I'm not mad at it. I always really hesitate to recommend this palette to people because it is so expensive. I think off the top of my head that it's £58, and I mean, looking at this look, is this a look that I could have done with my Beauty Babe Book of Magic palette for £15? Yeah, I mean, I have the exact same colours in there. I could have definitely done this same look. Are the shimmers as pretty in that one? No, they're not. They are really pretty, but I do think that the ones in here are far superior. But then could you just add on like a loose pigment to the Beauty Babe palette and get a similar effect? Yes, you could, and if you haven't seen it already, I do have a video doing exactly that will be linked up there. I'm just gonna say what I always say with this one. If you have the money and you really want it, go for it. Don't, you know, go spending money that you don't have on this one. I don't think it's worth you putting yourself in a situation like that. The shimmers are gorgeous. I do really, really love using the shimmers in here. The mattes, I don't think they're her best. I feel like I prefer the ones from the Mini Nude Obsessions, for example. So if the mattes were more on par with that, I feel like I would be more on board with the price, but I mean, it's a lot of money. But if you've got the money and you want to splurge, they are nice shimmers. I say that every time. If you do want a more budget version, there is also a dupe by W7, so I will be linking the video comparing the two. Spoiler alert, the W7 one isn't as good, but it is there if you want a cheaper version, so that's why I will link the video. And I will also add at the end a playlist with my other looks using this palette, because I've done a few now. And yeah, I think that's all the talking I had to do really at this point. So I'm gonna leave you guys here because it's almost lunchtime. I still need to photograph this look, and then I need to go and get some food. So yeah, as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Leave me a comment letting me know what you thought of it. Definitely let me know as well if there are any other palettes that you would like to see. This month I'm trying to focus more on stuff that I already have. There's products that I want to finish up. So if there are any palettes that you've seen me use before and you want to see them again, definitely make sure you let me know in the comments. And of course, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss out on my next videos. And I'll see you all on the next one. Bye guys!